Fugitive of the Judoon promised to be a huge episode of Doctor Who, and in that respect, it certainly did not disappoint. Without further ado, here are 6 things you may have missed in this story. Number 1. The return of the Judoon. Okay, I'm not really expecting anyone to have missed this per se. In fact, the return of the Judoon was one of the very first announcements made about Series 12, way back in May of last year. But there were 1 or 2 differences with the trigger-happy space rhinos this time round. Most obviously, the captain of this particular platoon sported a rather groovy Mohican hairdo and a slightly larger chest port. She's also the very first female Judoon to be seen on screen, at least the first that we know of. These Judoon use bigger guns than those seen previously and upgraded versions of 2 trademark bits of kit. The scanner, which now stamps a cross on catalogued subjects rather than marking it on Sharpie style, and the translator, used to assimilate the English language as it had done in Smith & Jones. We also got a brand new device in the form of the time isolator, though sadly we never got to see it in action. Number 2. The Doctor in Gloucester. Again, this was covered in publicity for the episode when location filming took place in and around Gloucester Cathedral in May of last year. What you might not know is that the cathedral, or at least its grounds, have featured in the show before. Miller's Green, to the side of the cathedral, and College Green, directly in front of it, an area used again in this story, doubled as Victorian London in the 2008 Christmas special The Next Doctor. Meanwhile, one of the BBC's other flagship dramas, Sherlock, made use of the cathedral's crypt in the 2016 story The Abominable Bride. Number 3. The return of Captain Jack. After nearly a decade away from our screens, the flamboyant time agent and leader of Torchwood 3 is finally back. Jack had last been seen on TV in 2011 in Torchwood Miracle Day, and he's been absent from Doctor Who since 2008's The Stolen Earth/Journey's End, bar a very brief cameo in The End of Time Part 2 in 2010. Chris Chibnall had previously written for the character across Torchwood Series 1 and 2, on which he worked as lead writer. It would seem, then, that, as some fans had predicted, C's name-dropping of Torchwood back in Spyfall Part 1 was more than just a passing reference. One key link to the past in this episode was the phrase, "always the nanogenes." This harks back to the medical nanogenes contained within the Chula ambulance that Jack sent to Earth as part of a contract in his very first story, The Empty Child/The Doctor Dancers. Number 4. A new Doctor. Can anyone say with any honesty they actually saw this coming? Because I certainly didn't. Yes, it turns out that Gloucester Cathedral tour guide Ruth Clayton is in fact an incarnation of the Doctor. Exactly where she fits in is not entirely clear at this stage, but for the purposes of this video, I'll refer to her as the Fugitive Doctor. Like the 13th Doctor, she awards points to her companions in jest, yet seems to have no knowledge of this incarnation, or of the sonic screwdriver. We can rest assured that this will all be explained at some point in the future. For now, it's just great to have a brand new Doctor, and the first black actor or actress to be cast in the role in the form of Jo Martin. There are clues to Ruth's true identity littered throughout the episode. To name a few from the opening scene, there's the extreme close-up of her watch, an allusion to the fact that she's a Time Lord, the rainbow lens flare which appears over her face, which echoes the design of the 13th Doctor's t-shirt, and the hexagonal mirror in her flat, which is reminiscent of a motif seen in the TARDIS. Number 5. A new TARDIS. Well, sort of. The Fugitive Doctor's TARDIS interior reuses elements from the 1960s style set originally made for the 2013 docudrama An Adventure in Space and Time, and previously reused in Hell Bent and Twice Upon a Time. And doesn't it look absolutely gorgeous? Number 6. The TARDIS Steps. In traditional Doctor Who style, the main action of this episode was bookended by scenes set inside the TARDIS, in which the Doctor and her companions have the chance to reflect on the adventure they've just embarked on, and where they'll be going next. In the case of Fugitive of the Judoon, the TARDIS scenes fed heavily into the series' story arc. In the first, the Doctor is busy at the console while her friends are sitting on the newly installed TARDIS Steps, a part of the ship with a particularly sinister significance, since this is where the Doctor received the Master's holographic message at the end of Spyfall Part 2. It was fitting, then, that this should be the spot from which Graham, Ryan and Yaz finally challenged the Doctor about what she's been hiding from them. Rather neatly, in the closing TARDIS scene, the tables were turned, with the companions stood by the console and the Doctor sitting on the steps, as she finally starts to speak out to her friends. Chris Chibnall had previously teased in a Radio Times interview that some important things are going to happen on those steps. Whether there are more important things to come in future episodes remains to be seen. As ever, I really hope you've enjoyed this video and it's perhaps pointed out something to you that you hadn't noticed before. In an episode so full of shocks and surprises, there's bound to be stuff I've missed, so please do put anything at all that you noticed in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you about that. Thank you so much for watching once again, and goodbye for now.